Hello everybody and welcome back to Victoria 3, where as you can see, we are currently having radicalism creep up, and a big part of the reason for that is because our standard of living has slipped again. And the reason for that, of course, is because we cranked taxes back up. But now charity hospitals are available. Note that that put us at minus 112, so that's an additional like 50-some bureaucracy. That is because we went to level 1 of our health system here. So that's going to reduce our mortality and increase our food security. That alone is going to be a significant boon. And we also went up in our financial gains by quite a large amount when that went through. Okay, never mind. That was fake. It went right back. Okay, that is fine. So we did finish up one government administration. Now we're working on another iron mine here, and that is going to be quite necessary. Now we're working on scaling up this GDP. We're currently number 21 in the world, which isn't terrible, but we absolutely have a lot of things in our economy that we need to be working on. There's no doubt about that. We can see that a very significant amount of our population, colonization, yes. But as I was saying, we can see that a very significant amount of our population is currently peasants, and that's not necessarily ideal. Okay, so can we actually colonize up here? Well, we can declare an interest in Central Asia, and that might be necessary before we can actually do this. How long before that interest is actually a thing? I think it's usually like a year. So we want to start colonizing up over this direction for sure. We have the colonization tech, but I believe we need a law change for that, right? So frontier colonization, we currently have no colonial affairs. No one is in favor of it, and it would radicalize the rural folk. So that's interesting. Indeed. So currently we can't colonize up here, but let's go ahead and make ourselves an interest up in Turkmenia, and we'll see if that changes anything. We might be able to have at least a slow-growing colony up there, which would be ideal. For the moment, we're still working on this iron mine, and we're going to want to get that completed. Then we're going to work on this government administration, but I want to check in on our existing government administration here. Okay, that is hiring in. Cool. So that looks reasonably fine. Yeah, building another government administration here is probably not necessarily hugely important, but, well, cotton plantation building throughput, sure. That seems fine. So we're currently, what got exposed here? Intensive agriculture. That's a little unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, so in the military tab, we're working on line infantry at this moment. We want to get down to general staff quite quickly, and we will get there. Predicted to finish in a while, 126 to 129 months. And then after that, we're going to be rushing for railways, is the idea. So that's predicted to finish in 26 to 27 years. We're going to have to crank those numbers up. There's no doubt about that. So this iron mine is going to finish up eventually. I want to check on the employment status in our iron mines. Okay, yeah, this is maxed out right now. That's understood. We need to bring down the price of iron, which will bring down the price of tools is currently limited by the price of iron. So that should be fine. If we check in on our tooling workshops, we can see this has a long way to go on its employment. And this is mostly because iron and wood are both expensive. So we could definitely get ourselves an additional logging camp. And here seems pretty okay. Let's go ahead and do that. And I want this logging camp to happen probably before that government administration, because we don't have our government administrations in Tehran completely maxed out at this time. It is growing, but slowly. So for the time being, we don't need to build another government administration there just yet. But we will get there soon enough. So that looks good. Blessed are the meek, huh? 50% loyalists from political movements or minus 50% radicals, and we'll take that one. Thank you very much. That sounds good. That was only from political movements, to be clear. This is from standard of living and starvation. That's not going to be reduced. So that's absolutely fine for now. Our GDP is coming up, and our standard of living is starting to rise up again. That's a good sign. So we're very happy about that, and as you can see, our financial districts are working on doing some privatization, which will help us stay afloat, and that is eventually going to be good. So for the time being, I'm not really interested in expanding our construction, although eventually we'll definitely want to do that. So we're going to be finishing up this fishing wharf down here. That looks good. And now that extra construction is going to be put into our government construction, I believe. Okay, so that looks good, and our investment pool is going to be growing faster to privatize those furniture manufactories. That seems okay. So no issue there. That is absolutely wonderful. So let's get that logging camp finished, and then we're going to work on that government administration. We need to bring down the price of both iron and wood, and they're both coming down. In fact, the price of iron is pretty good at this point. I don't believe that we need additional iron mines right now, looking at that dip in price. So that's good. We are satisfied at that point. Okay, the price came back up a little bit. At least specifically in Khorasan. Let's look at it in the overall nation. Okay, noted. So yeah, that's definitely a bit of an issue. The price of iron is going to spike around quite a bit until we can get railroads put together so that we can more effectively spread those goods, right? So for now, I think what we should do is we should build ourselves... Well, we actually got that extra government administration built already. So we're at 5 here, and this can continue to grow for a while. That seems good. Now what I want to do is I want to come specifically out to Khorasan. Can we build any iron mines specifically here? The answer is yes, we can. So I'd like to build an iron mine specifically here to help feed this tooling workshop. This is not necessarily an ideal situation, and we'll put it here for right now. This is not necessarily an ideal situation because we're having a difficult time getting the goods from here to here. So you can see that there's going to be a wildly different local price of iron. Local price here is minus 31. Local price of iron here is plus 22. And they're not far apart. We just need to be able to transport those goods, which we can't do very effectively at this time. That said, line infantry is going to be done fairly soon here. And then we've got army reserves, and then we've got general staff. So that's currently predicted to finish in approximately 10 years. We'll see how real that is. But I would definitely like to consider bringing up our innovation cap. Our main problem with that is I don't believe that we're going to be able to staff the academics. That's the core issue there. And our finances are not the greatest in the world either. So that... So we definitely want to continue to work our way through this a little bit, and this textile mill is going to be an important thing. I want to check our overall prices here. So yeah, we've definitely got a high price here. We've got a reasonably high price here. Balance is still negative, but we need to get our goods transported at this point. We're producing the goods. We're just not really exporting the goods. So I want to go into our trade view. Let's see here, trade routes. So we're currently importing some small arms and artillery, which we're going to cancel the small arms import, and the artillery import, and the wine import, as of right now. This tooling import, I think, is still a useful thing. But we're going to have the arms and artillery shortages dealt with shortly, because we have these guys being built. So the arms industry is going to be done with its importation now, and we're going to start domestically producing these. Now, this one is in Arabistan, which is not necessarily ideal. I just noticed that. Okay, so that is not at all ideal. We would need to import specifically from Arabistan. Well, actually, they would be producing in our market, wouldn't they? What is their... Yeah, they're in the Persian market. So that seems reasonably fine then. They will produce in our market. So how are they doing on their small arms production? Well, they've hired no one. They recently failed to hire anyone. Okay, now they're producing some amount of small arms. However, they're having a lack of hardwood. So we have a shortage of hardwood in the Persian market, and we can definitely do something about that. So let's take a quick peek at what we've got going on for our logging camps. So I'm thinking somewhere around here, we would have this go to some amount of hardwood production. We wouldn't need much, so it would be just this logging camp, and it wouldn't be prioritizing hardwood production. So we'd just do something along the lines of that. So now we're producing hardwood. Wood is now expensive, which isn't necessarily shocking. However, we have put in a fair number of logging camps. So we have a logging camp there. We have other logging camps around, like this one. Okay, so the price on tools is the primary issue here. We need to hire this in. So that's understood. How's our population growth doing now? 0.33? Okay, so that seems reasonably fine. I'm not actually that interested in finishing this iron mine on a... Actually, I am. Never mind. I forgot that this was in Khorasan. I was thinking this was one up over here, and was going to make the argument that we don't actually care about it that much because we need to transport the goods. But no, with this being located in Khorasan, that is actually useful. So we'll get that going. That will drive down the price somewhat of iron in this area. We could also make the same argument for a logging camp specifically here. And I'm going to do exactly that. I think we would build this about here. So it would be something along the lines of that. There we go. So our economy is currently in a bit of a downturn, which isn't a surprise. We are making money right now by 4.04 and now minus 4.4. Okay, that's interesting. So we had a privatization happen, but we're going to be going into debt fairly soon here. In fact, very soon. We're going to be going into debt very, very soon. We could cut government wages for that, and that will reduce our prestige, but that seems relatively fine. So we can cut government wages, and that will put us at a still negative amount here, but that'll be fine. Okay. So we're going to run a small deficit for a little bit here, and that seems okay. So I want to get this artillery foundry and this logging camp finished up, and then that textile mill. That's all going to be quite important. So that seems reasonably fine. This is, of course, building up due to primarily construction goods being the problem. So, I mean, the cost of iron, yes, definitely high. And I want to check in on this iron mine. Yeah, so we're hiring in here. So that looks good. And then the price of tools definitely dropping, at least in this area. So if we go back out over here and we look at, say, the wheat farms here, the price of tools is high, right? And that's understood. So we're going to need to back off on this construction fairly soon and pay off the debt because we don't want to pay too much in interest. That said, the interest payments right now, not that significant. So I want to finish this for sure, and then we'll see what that ends up looking like. And these privatizations should give us money, I believe. And that will help pay off these debts. At least somewhat. So that seems reasonably fine for now. We'll continue to construct here for about another 10 months or so. And I do want to continue to work on this down here, but what is exposed here? Napoleonic Warfare. Okay. Well, we have line infantry. I'm not upgrading that right now because of our economic woes, but we will get there. So the artillery foundry is going to be solving our artillery shortage fairly shortly. And transporting goods around our little fiefdom here is absolutely our core issue right now. No doubt about that. However, we're currently at cordial with Great Britain, and that's pretty decent. Russia is still domineering towards us, and they're not involved in anything, so we can't really do anything at this time. We just kind of gotta chill. I don't want to check up in Turkmenia here, and yeah, we can't colonize up here. This is due to our lack of colonial affairs. We need to pass frontier colonization. This is not available at this moment because enactment success chance is not above 0. Okay. So who actually supports this? The armed forces. And the rural folk as well. We'd have a 100% debate chance. We wouldn't have a 100% success chance. Okay. So how could we increase the clout of the military here? That would be an interesting thing to do indeed. So currently the landowners and the ulema are in power here. We could drop down to 96 legitimacy from 100 and include the armed forces. This seems viable. So if we confirm that and include the armed forces in government, that would allow us to do any of these. The question is, do we want to go for anything fancy here? And I think the answer to that is no. All we're interested in doing is a small amount of colonization here. So I think frontier colonization is pretty much all we need. So let's get going on that. A lot of people worsened their attitude towards us. Hilarious. Okay, yeah, this is not actually relevant to us. So that is all absolutely fine. And we'll work on enacting frontier colonization to be able to get Turkmenia under our control. That will, of course, be a very useful thing. So we're currently constructing our logging camps in Khorasan, with the idea being that we want to drive down the price of tools somewhat, but we're still going to have a hard time getting tools to all of these locations, right? So that is understood, and I'm thinking right now about abandoning going for general staff. Army Reserves is currently being researched, and we would get down to general staff in about 7 years right now. At which point we'd be able to come over here. Now, Lathe is currently being exposed. That is actually really, really good. That means that Lathe is being worked on. It will finish in 13 to 14 years, but that means that that is being worked on to head towards railways. Remember, we need to get Lathe, then we need to get mechanical tools, and then we need to get railways after that. So that means that this is making progress while we're working on getting general staff. Okay. So that's absolutely noted. The ethics of exploitation. Okay, so we have about a 60% chance of this being good, or we could concede some of their points, and then we have a 75% chance of it being good. We'll take the 75% chance. Unfortunately, we got the smaller one, but that seems fine. We just need to work that up. So that sounds absolutely wonderful. I do want to get some additional government administrations going here. We need to get our bureaucracy up, and that means that we need 3 total government administrations. And I want to start by job seekers here. Okay, so there's most job seekers up here right now. Noted. This is where I'd like to build these, though, for the moment. I'm going to queue them up, but they're going to happen after this textile mill. So we're going to get the textile mill done, and we'll work on the government administrations. That will boost up our unrealized taxes somewhat, eventually. But checking in on the status of our existing government administrations, yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Debate failure there, bringing us back to 8%. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, we'll continue to work on that. And we clearly need to not expand our construction at this time. In fact, we're going to have to take a break from construction fairly soon here. I want to get these government administrations finished up, and then they can start working on staffing, and that'll be okay. We have crossed over the 7 million threshold. Our standard of living is continuing to dip in some of these areas, though, and that's understood. Baroda is currently damaging relations. They're belligerent towards us. Who is this? Oh, down over here. Okay. So we are required to improve relations with them. I don't want to go to war with the East India Company. Oh, the East India Company took over this. That's frightening. Okay, I want to improve relations with the East India Company overall. Law debate failure again on frontier colonization. That's very unfortunate. Well, we'll continue trying, and hopefully we'll manage to get that passed fairly soon. So we're Actually, Britain is currently protective towards us. Can we make anything out of that? They would take a defensive pact. That's interesting. We definitely take a defensive pact with Britain here. Okay, so Britain accepted our defensive pact. We just got another debate here. Okay, we're going to have to take a setback, but that brings us back to 8%. So we can continue trying frontier colonization. We're getting really, really bad rolls on that. Indeed. Conquer state in Persia. What is this? This is Kandahar versus Kabul. Huh. Russia is genial towards Kabul. I kind of want to sway towards Kabul here, though, because I wouldn't mind taking over Kandahar. Or at least a chunk of it. Let's lean over this way and see what they think. We'll just keep an eye on that for the moment. So we could negotiate support to Kabul here, and that would be interesting, but I'm going to wait until like the very end of this. Okay, law progressed on 8% there. Interesting. Harvest condition has started. What harvest condition did we get? Heat wave. Okay, that's not necessarily great, but that is absolutely understood. So we're going to keep an eye on this situation here. No one is joining in as of right now. A lot of people are declaring neutrality on this, but I absolutely do want to come in on this if I can. So the idea here is, and with Russia leaning this way, well, they have a protective attitude here and a genial attitude here. Russia could go either way here. I'm interested in supporting Kabul here, though, for sure, because I want to take stuff. Okay, so against the odds, that's fine. Absolutist movement, huh? Okay. And what do we got here? Persian relations towards us improved by 5. That's actually really, really good towards Russia. So let's definitely take that. That moves us up to cordial relations with Russia, which means that Russia is no longer able to directly attack us. Not that they were probably going to, given the British situation. But even so. Okay, so most of the powerful guys have now backed out of this. So that means I want to negotiate support here. And I want to ask for... Ask for Conquer State. I would like to take Kandahar, which would be 16.7 infamy. Russia expelled our diplomats. Okay. Sure. That's spicy. They're back to domineering, and their opinion of us is back down to neutral -15. Because they expelled our diplomats, we can't improve relations as of right now. But we have that defensive pact with Britain. So Britain will defend us from Russia. Let's go ahead and mobilize this army, and let's send that out over here. And at this point, we negotiated to have Conquer Kandahar. We're not able to put any more war goals here, but we did get that infamy, so that's okay. We're going to get Kandahar out of this, and that's all we really wanted. So that seems good. And we are working on building these government administrations. Our finances are a lot better at this point, actually, which is remarkable. Now, we do have a fair amount of debt at this point, and I do want to stop construction here. Law debate failed here again. awkward rolls here. We're having very sad debate rolls. But oh well. We're also currently building a vineyard. Legislative failures here, so we would gain another setback here, and this would go back to 8%. We might not be able to pass this. We've had the worst luck. Quite literally the worst. Okay, 2 arms. So war is broken out with Kandahar here, and us and Kabul are going to basically carve them up at this point. French legitimist revolt, huh? Okay. So we're going to easily win this battle. That looks fine. And that'll get us some nice territory out over here. We're now positive financially. That's a really good sign. That's a really good sign. Okay, never mind. We're not. It was fake. That's okay. We know that we are currently building this construction, and it'll switch around once we get that done. I want to get the debt paid off, and then we'll probably go back to construction after that. So we could definitely get plus 15% support here from the Ulema, and we'll absolutely like that. That's wonderful. So we're now up to 23%, and this war is, of course, pretty over, to be honest. Yeah, we're going to come back and take over Kandahar pretty quickly. In fact, these guys are on their way over there, so I'll let them handle that. We've got this under control. We could split this army, but I don't see a reason to when these guys are heading over. We'll let the first Kabuli army take that. There's nothing opposing them anyway, so it looks good. I'm going to have these guys actually travel to this front. There we go. And we'll go deal with this quick. Cool. And you can see we are net negative on small arms and artillery. That is understood. I'm not shocked about that one. We have nothing under construction, so we're working on paying off our debt. And that looks good. Law debate success this time, so we're now up to 33%. That's good. There's no one on this front. That's awkward. Why did you all deploy down here? I guess they're shifting back over. There's a battle ongoing there, so I guess it's fine. Oh, now they're shifting back. This is very silly of them. Okay, now they're up here. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to wrap up this area down over here. This is not going to be very difficult for us. And then we're going to transfer on up over here. Now, I want to check in on how Army Reserves is doing. Okay, we're making progress there. Lathe is going to be done eventually. It's getting an exposure. Intensive agriculture is no longer getting an exposure. Interesting. What's exposed over here? Romanticism. Sure, that seems fine. So we're now up over here. This is fully occupied. That all looks good. Law debate failure, and we're back down to 22% over here, but it should be reasonably fine. So that looks good. We're going to wrap up this war. And this will all be under control very, very shortly. They really can't withstand this. So that's looking good. There'll be a capitulation shortly. And of course, our infamy is working on dropping. So we're just getting Kandahar here. There we go. So that's this territory up here. It's really awkward, but that will give us an interesting position to go after the rest of Kandahar. Kabul didn't actually take any territory here. For some reason, I was thinking we were going to get this, but no, we got Kandahar. That makes sense. That's entirely a thing. Yes, it is currently isolated. That is understood, and this is going to be a bit of a problem. That pretty much means that we need to go after Herat. We'll do that fairly soon, and I'd like to get this connected up. But we also want to get frontier colonization done, and the question is, can we do that without Russia interfering? Britain would probably intervene if Russia intervened. But Russia is going to be a problem for us. No doubt about that. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to see about taking over Herat. Hopefully we'll get that fairly soon. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Andy McGard, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.